going to break up lesson 10, 1.10 into two lessons. We're going to have A and we're going to have B. So we're going to start with lesson 10A, which is on operations of numbers in scientific notation, addition and subtraction. So you can probably figure out in the next one we will do multiplication and division. All right, so notice the directions just say to simplify and express in scientific notation. So we're going to add these two numbers in scientific notation together. But here's what I want you to pay attention to. We're adding, but notice they have the same power of 10. Okay, so we're going to think of this almost as reverse distributive property. So just kind of follow along, and you're going to see that we keep doing the same thing over and over. I am going to take times 10 to the 7th out of both of them. What that does then is it leaves us with 2 plus 6. So I have 2 plus 6 times 10 to the 7th. Now here's what I mean about the reverse distributive property. That's like saying 10 to the 7th times 2, well that's right here, and 10 to the 7th times 6, that's right here. And this just ends up being 8 times 10 to the 7th. Likewise, we can do the same thing when we're subtracting over here. Notice both of these have times 10 to the 8, so I'm going to pull that out of both of them. Get rid of that, get rid of that. And I'm left with 9 minus 3. So that's being 6 times 10 to the 8th. So if you remember that little trick of like pulling out the same power of 10 out of both of them, reverse distributive property, it's really pretty easy. The difficulty comes when, as we move down here, feel free to pause if you need to, when our exponents aren't the same. But we're going to still do there. We're going to still do what we did up here. It's just, we're not going to start with that. Okay? So again, keep this in mind, how we have the same, once we have the same power of 10, we can pull that out. We're going to use our exponent rules that we've already learned and practiced. So notice right here, we have times 10 to the 3rd. I don't have times 10 to the 3rd here, I have times 10 to the 5th. But losing my exponent rules, I could rewrite it as a times 10 to the 5th. I could rewrite this as 10 to the 2nd times 10 to the 5th. Now think of the exponent rules that we've worked on. Same base, multiplying, we would add these exponents. So this really means the same thing. Now the reason I do that is because I can rewrite this first one here as 7 times 10 to the 2nd times 10 to the 3rd plus 5 times 10 to the 3rd. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, it's because of this right here. I want to have both of them be times 10 to the 3rd. So all we have to do then is simplify this part. 10 to the 2nd is 100, 10 times 10. So that's like saying this is 7 times 100, which is 700 times 10 to the 3rd plus 5 times 10 to the 3rd. Don't worry about this not being in scientific notation because this is just an intermediate step. We're going to get there. Once you get to this part here, guys, we do it the same way as we did up here. Okay, so I'm going to pull out this times 10 to the 3rd out of both of them. And I'm left with 700 plus 5. And I get 705 times 10 to the 3rd. Well, the problem we have now is this 705 is not a number in scientific notation. Remember, we want it to be 7.05 because this number has to be a number between 1 and 10. So if we go for where we want it to where it is, notice I'm adding 2 decimal points on. 2 decimal places. So this becomes 7.05 times 10 to the 5th. Or another way you can think of it is I'm making this original number here, this front number, 2 powers of 10 less, so I got to make it 2 powers of 10 bigger here. Or just think of it as I'm moving 2 to the right, so I'm adding 2. Guys, we're going to do this part here over and over and over again. Okay? So let's try again. Looking over here, we're subtracting now. Notice I have times 10 to the 6th and times 10 to the 5th. I can take 10 to the 6th and rewrite it as 10 to the 1st times 10 to the 5th. Again, 1 plus 5 would be 6, same base multiplying. So this is 6, instead of saying times 10 to the 6th, I'm going to say times 10 to the 1st times 10 to the 5th minus 3 times 10 to the 5th. The more you write out here, guys, the easier it gets. Okay. Now we're going to do this part right here. This is just 6 times 10. So that becomes 60 times 10 to the 5th minus 3 times 10 to the 5th. When you can get the same exponent, pull out that same power of 10. Pull it out. I'm going to pull out times 10 to the 5th, and I'm left with 60 minus 3. Now you just keep solving. 60 minus 3 is 57 times 10 to the 5th. And then using that new tool I just taught you, we need it to be 5.7. I go from where I want it to where it is. I'm moving 1 to the right. So I'm going to add 1 exponent on. And we get 5.7 times 7 to the 6th. Okay, again, the more you do this, like with everything, the easier it's going to get. Follow these same steps. Stays the same. Numbers are the ones that change. And you'll be able to add and subtract numbers in scientific notation.